but do we take that with the good with the bad? Because where I often go
Okay.
with that line of thinking is like, okay, so I hear you, Isabella. You're right. Today I should take that leap. I should follow my intuition. I'd like
I
to think
should
I do
jump.
that a bit, right? I should jump exactly. But to your point, everybody's different, right? So I often bring up different examples, but you could think of people whose intuition leads them to do something that many people would say is harmful or negative, right? You could think of, Hitler as an example that often comes up. Was he just following his intuition? But you can even go more base, like a pedophile, somebody that molests children. Are they just following their intuition and saying, "Well, that's what I
No.
want to do"? Now that's an extreme, right? But like that's the other fear I have is what if my intuition hurts people? And you can almost look at it from like a philosophical or evolutionary perspective and say the reason why this box has been put in place is because if we let people individually just follow whatever their intuition is, society can't function because people will go in too many different directions and sometimes people will hurt people. So we need guardrails to bring us back. I don't want to believe that's true because when you speak about freedom, I literally feel it physically like, yes, that feels right. But then there's that other part that's like, but what about that? Like, is there
I
some scary
love
stuff
it.
we have to protect?
I'm so glad you asked. I'm so glad. And I totally see where you come from. I'm gonna try to, with my limited sense of understanding to make that make sense.
Mm.
So when you're speaking of, you're basically talking about difference, right? The difference among us. How can we holistically unify that? How can we know we're doing the same thing? That's another great, amazing power of this being understanding world, life philosophically or in the natural way. There's a great example right out there that is showing us that things has their underlying law to holistically make things work.
Mm.
That thing is called nature. Like, just think about, because we're understanding based on our three-dimensional human perspective to try to coordinate, to try to make things make sense, but there's so much things that we don't understand, and nature just exists. How come so coincidentally just perfect for us to breathe?
Mm.
If we think like that, okay, there must be a hand behind it to plan it. So saying this is not to be superstitious. I'm just saying there is this underlying law that will somehow unite us to function cohesively, even we're doing different things. And that only comes from when we follow our inner voice, follow our heart. And the reason people, Hitlers and those people, we see what I see, it's a side effect, a consequence of what they're doing. That's not them since they were a child.
Mm.
So they're just all pre-stages that we didn't see, and we get reshaped by the world. And that comes back to my original point of following our voice. All the good will come out. When you're against it, it will go sideways.
So you believe inherently we are good. If we tap into our authentic voice and who we are, it may be different. We all have different paths and different journeys and different feelings. But however we define good, there's a goodness in that. It will cohesively connect us the way nature works and we'll be able to function together. There's a trust
Even
in
we're
that.
different, we're doing different things. It doesn't mean, because again, that's back to I think within box kind of
Yeah,
topic.
yeah.
We have this system thing in our mind since we were born. We thought this is the way. I believe we're all different, and at the same time, I believe we work as a whole, as a combination whole. And the reason we're different is we break apart, we represent different puzzles. What we need to figure out is how we collaborate as a different pieces in order for a better unity. It's not how to build a one single rule for all these different puzzles to all look like a square or circle. That's what I see this world is doing, and that's what I see. It's blindfolded our true, genuine, you like authenticity, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
genuine character and quality that made us who we are. And it tweaked our character, it changed our personality, it made us not who we are, and all the consequences and side effects start showing up.
Mm. So interesting because it almost makes sense too if you think about it through human history, like very broad strokes. But as we developed consciousness, you can almost imagine like initially when that first happened, whenever that was, it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of an open game. Like we didn't even know what we knew yet or didn't know, and we were starting to figure things out. And it
Mhm.
almost would make sense that there's a natural progression that as you start to learn more and get more sophisticated, your first inclination is like, okay, let's start to standardize this. Let's start to put things together so that it just all works efficiently. And at your first go with that, you're going to get it wrong. You're going to standardize too much. You're going to try and put things in a box too much. But as you evolve, as we as humans continue to evolve and get more sophisticated and our consciousness grows, we start to realize like actually what seemed like a good idea to make things standard and efficient, because there's benefits in that in terms of how society functions, there's a lot of unintended or hidden costs to that don't work. And there's actually a better way. And like we're just starting to realize like, there's actually a better way to do this. But very much to the conversation we were having, for a lot of people, that's scary. Like, what is that
Scary.
better way? How do we know it's better? What if it's not? What if it's more dangerous? What if it's whatever? And that all comes in. But what you're saying is very logical. It's a very logical progression that makes sense. It all does hinge, I think, on the assumption, though, that at our core, we are good people. If we can all just tap into that, we're all better off. And that's, I think, a big assumption. It's an assumption that I'd like to believe is true, but if I'm being honest, I don't know if I could say it for sure.